What is something you only notice when it's bad? The dust that collects on the floor trim in the house. I know it's bad when I see the huge dust bunnies in the hallways next to the trim. Just live in candlelight. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. Working from home made me notice this stuff so much more. Being in the house with daylight all times of day, all times of year. I recently vacuumed my walls. Septic tank issues. Plumbing in general. Most of eastern North Carolina has a high water table, barely suitable soil, and is currently experiencing much wetter than normal weather. Hundreds of on-site systems are failing right now. Live sound mixing. No one looks at the sound booth guy/gal until there's mic feedback. Heck, it's been a movie cliché for years. The bad or newcomer bands have mics feedback just to signal the audience how bad they are. Long. Related, I would have technical elements from any type of live performance, lighting, set movement, etc. No one notices the spotlight until it misses its mark. Audio synced to video. Absolutely horrendous when it's off by just a fraction of a second from seeing the mouth move to hearing the sound, or hearing the sound before the mouth moves. Similar to this, when the closed captions are also off by a sentence. I use CC to fill in the gaps of what I didn't hear properly, and seeing the mouth move separately from the audio and then trying to read the captions that don't match and keep track of what is going on is headache-inducing. I would say audio in general. In my 20 years doing sound for television, no director or producer ever thought about sound unless there was something off about it. Unless they were also a musician. Then they just made comments because they thought it made them seem like they had super ears. I would just pretend to do something with the EQ and say, "How is that?" They always said, "Oh, much better." You're back. I sometimes catch myself thinking about not feeling any pain in my back, and try my hardest to truly appreciate the fact that it doesn't hurt and I can function like a normal human on this day. In November 2017, I was rear-ended by a guy doing 70 while I was stopped. Broke 9 ribs, my shoulder blade, and my sacrum. I have low back pain every damn day. Those days when I get the ice/heat/pain med mix just right and I get a reprieve are magical. Or shoulder/neck region. I'm at day 5 of severe shoulder and neck pain. Can't move my head. Can't drive. Can't exist without pain. Doctor thinks it's bursitis and I have to get an ultrasound on my shoulder. Brakes on your car. Nothing like slowly pressing on the brakes as you approach a red light to hear the demons scratching on a chalkboard. One time I was driving my father's car, but when I pressed on the brakes nothing happened and the car crashed. I was driving by myself, so I had no actual proof that the brakes didn't work. Both of my parents insisted that it was my fault, and they just wouldn't even consider the possibility that it was the brakes. I should mention that I wasn't injured, and I hit a rock which was big enough to stop the car. My work has new vehicles in the fleet that have super sensitive brakes. The lightest touch will bring you to a screeching halt, and after months of driving them I've learned where the sweet spot is to brake smoothly without throwing people around inside. The other night I had to drive one of the last remaining older trucks that we're trying to run the kilometers up on so we can retire it. First time I had to brake, I was using the new vehicle pressure on the pedal and near blew through an intersection because the squishy brakes didn't even notice. Tap water, air quality. Basically infrastructure. We take it for granted, but it takes 24/7 maintenance. Electricity, water, roads, food distribution, internet, etc. You only notice when the roads are bad because they haven't been serviced, when the internet is slow, when the grocery store has few supplies, when the water is funky, when the power goes out. Food in my fridge. City government. Yep, I live somewhere with awful city government. Edit, changed we to I to ease confusion. Back in 2000 my city amalgamated with a close by bigger city. Before the amalgamation we had all the latest stuff like snowplows, all our roads were in great shape, we had a bunch of community events that focused on our smaller community which has a lot of farming and outdoorsy stuff. After the amalgamation all our new stuff went to the big city and we were given all their older equipment. Slowly all the community events were phased out. Eventually things like flower pots by intersections were removed. We no longer have a community Christmas tree / lighted park as the park was sold off. Our community lost its community spirit. Fuck, I hate this. Wish I had enough money to start my own town in the middle of nowhere with all these things and have it a 100% work from home city / make it a town paradise with all taxes going into just making it a better place instead of 60% of the budget going to the police force so they can play army guy with all that military gear they have. A lie. Good one. I know AskReddit isn't supposed to have right and wrong answers, but this is the right answer. CGI. Bad CGI can completely ruin a scene / movie. Good CGI you'd never even think twice about it. The deer from Walking Dead walks into the chat. Your health. I cry even more so if it's your physical health. Tap water. This is why I'm glad I'm back on well water that's not really hard water. I grew up with well water and the short time I lived in town I couldn't stand having to drink city water. Hell, even the local Chinese restaurant I can't stand their ice because it always tastes like the over-chlorinated city water. Abuse. Everyone asks why someone would stay with an abusive partner, but 99% of the time the abuse comes in spurts and the rest of the time is fine. Abusive partners aren't abusive all the time. Trauma bonding. It's a real bitch. The good times are great, but the abuse is temporary. The ebbs and flows with the abuse and love. Skeptical, it's soul-breaking, too. Emotionally abusive parents too. They can paint this picture that everything about your family is great, but at home it's a different story. I think people think you need to be hit to be abused. There's so many subtle things your parents can do to mess you up. Your appendix. Too soon, I got appendicitis last year. You only notice plot holes and inconsistencies when a film is bad. A good movie with plot holes can be forgiven as long as it doesn't break your immersion in the story. When a bad movie loses you, you tend to look for other things to focus on besides the story, hence nitpicking. You only notice plot holes and inconsistencies when a film is bad. A good movie with plot holes can be forgiven as long as it doesn't break your immersion in the story. Yup. Raiders of the Lost Ark has a ton of really bad, strange plot holes. Did he really ride a submarine the whole way? But it's awesome, so things are forgiven. Yes, if they nail the emotional structure of the character journeys, we are experiencing the character's internal world, and their reaction to the plot is what guides our minds. But if we haven't connected with the character's emotional world, then we are looking at the plot from the outside in and it seems much more ridiculous. Internet speeds. I hate when it buffers on the dude's vinegar face. Your nose when you're sick and congested. Being able to breathe clearly is great. Or good eyesight. It's a blessing to be able to see without external aids. For that matter, being able to hear with a head cold. Feels like you'll never hear correctly again. IT support. The best IT is the one you don't know about. Add in the IT infrastructure. If it's bad the second something breaks the entire system is fucked. Subtitles. When you're used to seeing subtitles you rarely notice them when they're accurate. As soon as they're bad, it's hard to focus on anything else. Subtitles are a huge problem in Spanish. Because most media that gets translated to Spanish has two dubs, one for Spain and one for Latin America. but they usually only make the subtitles for the Spain one, and you end up with subtitles saying completely different stuff. It makes me go bonkers, and is one of the reasons I learned English. I read a lot of translated books, and sometimes you get a lazy translator that just completely butchers the job, to the point that you can tell a native English speaker never actually checked the translation before posting it. Cinematography, all of the effort that goes into camera angles, visual cues, scene order, pace, lenses, field of view, etc. You don't even think about it. Something I've noticed about the first season of The Simpsons is that they don't do establishing shots, and they don't separate scenes with a musical sting. Despite being kinda groundbreaking at the time, it seems awkward now for some unspecified reason. Well, a component of that is bad cinematography. If you just cut from one location to another, it leaves the viewer confused, makes the whole thing seem jumbled together. And that's not even live people, but it still has cinematography. I think you can get away with bad cinematography if your sound is spot on. I think at the end of the day it's the audio that can make or break a movie. Cinematography is only noticeable if it's bad or if it's really good. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.